today's video, I will be explaining why the Republican Party is currently gaining ground in the 2022 midterm elections. I will be taking a look at how much ground they have gained and why that is the case. So I'm going to start off by looking at the 538 Senate forecast yet again, because they previously had a point in which Democrats had more than a 2 in 3 chance at winning the Senate. Now it is back to a dead heat. Now, based on this and how 538 is currently a biased website towards the Democratic Party, I can safely assume that the Republican Party will win the Senate, especially given the fact that many liberal pundits currently also have the Senate as a lean Republican rating. So I'm going to get right into today's video. Now, one thing that has certainly changed is the polls. If we look at the state of Pennsylvania, for instance, previously Democrats had pretty much locked in that race according to many forecasts, and 538 gave John Fetterman a 6% lead on their forecast. However, recently polls have suggested that Mehmet Oz is now leading over John Fetterman. If we look at all the polls in the state of Pennsylvania, recently speaking, John Fetterman's lead has tightened by quite a bit. Looking at some of these races here, show all polls, Dr. Oz now has a 3, 2, and 2% lead in the 3 most recent polls. And just look at this, the first poll that John Fetterman has, Mehmet Oz has ever led in was October 8th to October 13th, a poll conducted by Wick. And now after some polls that show Fetterman up by very narrow margins, Oz is now up in the 3 most latest polls. Look at previously speaking, Fetterman had up to 19% advantages over Mehmet Oz, but now Oz has the lead in many polls as well, which explains why Mehmet Oz is catching up so much, according to 538. Now, just looking at this is not just in the state of Pennsylvania, though this is definitely the state that is basically shows that the clearest. Now we can go to a state like Georgia. Reverend Raphael Warnock previously had a clear lead over Walker by about 4% according to 538. But now it looks like that Walker has taken the lead in the 5 most recent polls conducted on 538 as well. Just looking at all of these polls here, Warnock was leading by up to 12 points in polls conducted about 2 weeks ago. Yet now, Walker has the lead in most of the polls. This is also a very clear shift, as really Democratic enthusiasm is going down. Not only that, let's go back. Not only in the state of Georgia, we can go to a random, for example, governor's race, we can see a very similar trend. I'm just going to find a state here, for example, the state of Nevada. Joe Lombardo, for the first time in so long, has taken the lead over Steve Sisolak. Steve Sisolak previously considerably had a lead over the Republican Joe Lombardo, and he had a more than 2 in 3 chance at defeating Joe Lombardo at September the 21st. Now, however, Joe Lombardo is leading over Steve Sisolak. Again, this is given that Joe Lombardo has led in most of the recent polls and has taken the advantage back against Steve Sisolak, which previously was a Steve Sisolak advantage by about 2% in the polling data, which is also quite significant. In fact, this CNN-funded poll has Joe Lombardo up by 2%. That is, again, a very good sign for the Joe Lombardo campaign. Now we've talked about how much the Republicans have gained. Now we can talk about why that is the case. Because first of all, Biden's approval rating hasn't dropped that much. So what is necessarily encouraging Republicans to be turning out more? One thing is that looking at the results in Congress, Republicans seem to be more enthusiastic. And just looking at one more thing, Democratic support has not necessarily dropped from like a month ago. For example, if we go back to August 20th, for instance, Democrats were at 43.9%, and now they are at 45.1%. However, Democratic support compared to Republican support actually has dropped 2%. Why is that the case? Now, Democrats did gain by about 1.5% compared to where they were about 2 months ago. But now, Republicans have gained about 4%. And that really shows that independents and undecided voters are shifting towards the Republican Party. And I do expect that trend to continue. That was basically why I consistently held up with my standpoint that Republicans were going to win the House, the Senate, and the governors. This was because, obviously, Republicans typically got those undecided voters leading up to election day, and that is exactly what's happening. However, Republicans still have some room to improve in. They still have 9% undecideds slash third party voters. I expect the third party vote to be about 2% in this election. So the remaining 7% are still undecided voters that could go either way. I expect the Republicans to win about 70% of those 7% of voters, while Democrats to win by about 30% of them. So Republicans should be able to win by about 3.5%, just according to my mental maths. That's around 3.5% of a lead on Republicans just by the polling data. And in the end, I think that in the end, Republicans will probably win the generic ballot by closer to 5 to 6%. Another reason is probably because that the Ukrainian war is no longer that big of an issue. Democrats were rising just after the Ukrainian war got heated up because typically wars do unite a country. And although division in the United States has been super significant over the recent decade or so, it is still a uniting factor that helped the Democratic Party. However, now there are issues with the economy, and those type of things are starting to appear on the news more, and the Ukrainian war has been a issue that is focused less on. Thus, Joe Biden's approval rating, not necessarily his approval rating, but Democrats in general, they don't have their speaking points compared to what they had about a month ago, and thus that is exactly why the Republican Party is gaining ground over the Democratic Party. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to leave me a like and subscribe to today's YouTube channel. Watch the videos on the screen right now. See you guys later, and bye.